If you want to learn about some of the activities of the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair, stay tuned. Carolina People's coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. Today we're at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. We're visiting with a program coordinator for the City of Florence Parks and Leisure, Teresa Simonds. Teresa, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me here.
Very definitely. Are you a Petey area native, Teresa?
No, not really.
How long have you been in the Florence area?
My family and I moved here in '64.
Okay, quite a while.
But I don't consider myself a native.
And how long have you been with the City of Florence Parks and Leisure?
About as long.
Is that right?
No, since 1988.
Oh, gal, that's a good stretch.
It is.
You've been coming out to the fair for years. Had you been coming out prior to your involvement with the city?
Yeah, I was remembering the year we moved here, I came to the fair.
1964?
Yeah.
Golly.
My sister had a date. I didn't, so I came with one of her friends.
That's an event either you want to block out.
The only time I ever rode a double Ferris wheel.
The only time
I ever rode
a double Ferris wheel?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
amazing.
It
was.
What is the purpose for the city of, what is the primary focus for the city's Parks and Leisure Department?
Here at the fair?
Here at the fair, and then later you can tell us a little bit about the primary purpose in general.
Okay,
yeah,
well, the reason we're here is we do the pumpkin contest for preschool through high school children to decorate a pumpkin. And then we also do Senior Day at the fair tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So we have those two events.
And the primary purpose within the city outside of the involvement here with the fair?
Well, primarily is recreation and leisure for children through senior adults.
Okay.
We don't do athletics. We do programming. We have 4 community centers in town and have programs for children and adults and seniors.
What had you, now moving here in 1964, you were probably... Yeah, you're obviously very, very young. That's right. You're obviously very, very young. Trying to think, had you had involvements working in the city prior to your now role in the last 14 years with the...
As a matter of fact, when I was at Francis Marion, I had a seated job in recreation. Worked a lot with the PD Retardation Board and that group of people. Helping
both youth and retarded...
Mostly seniors. Mostly seniors.
The Parks and Recs Department has got primary involvement with youth and seniors. Are there involvements, physical locations throughout the city?
There are. We have 4 community centers.
Okay.
Northwest Community Center is located over on Clement Street, near Old Carver School. Maple is on the corner of Alexander and Gregg. Levy Park is on Jefferson Street Extension, and the Senior Center, which is the original Wilson High School library, is over on Athens Street.
That's amazing. Your primary role with the department is coordinating all activities for youth and seniors, right. Or is at all the centers?
Yeah,
or
keeping the programs in the centers organized and doing special events. Not only do we have the pumpkin contest and Senior Day at the fair, we're starting to get ready to do a pumpkin patch for young children, 6 and younger, out at the Magnolia Mall on October 29th and 30th.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the programs, activities that you all have been involved with prior to, has this been almost exclusively what the city's Parks and Recreation Department have had a focus on? You said the pumpkin contest, right. Had you had activities supporting anything else in the past here at the fair, or?
No, but as far as I know, those 2 things.
Okay, right. What about some of the activities that seniors would be familiar with, either seniors who may be tuning in or folks who don't know much about programs that you all put on? What are some activities that they would possibly be interested in?
Well, right now we're doing a lot of ceramics. Okay. 2 of the centers are planning on having bazaars later in the fall to raise money for Christmas projects. So we're doing ceramics, flower arranging, sewing, that type thing. There, some of them are making lap robes for people in nursing homes. So they're doing that type activity right now.
What all is involved with planning for so many of these activities for seniors and youth?
Oh, that's a trick question. What is involved in planning? Well, of course, you have to know all the supplies you've got to have.
Right.
And timing is everything, as they say. So that type thing, and having, I think probably that's the easy part. I was telling her the easy part is getting it organized, and then you throw people into the mix, and then you hope that everything you did ahead of time is going to work out.
Not to throw out any more trick questions, Teresa, but do you need any volunteers to lend a hand? Do you ever turn to volunteers for service?
We do.
Really?
We do depend on volunteers. It's a small department, a small number of employees, so anybody who really is truly interested in working with people and has skills, we'd love to have them come and volunteer.
And if someone wanted to volunteer their time,
I would suggest they call the Recreation Department at 665-3253. Talk to Rocky, Mike, or Teresa.
That's 843-665.
3253.
Okay. And folks of all ages could volunteer their time?
Yes. I would love to. We try to do an after-school program to get children to do their homework, and it would be really nice to have some high school students who are interested in understand math and reading and everything that the kids are learning these days, because we're finding some of them really need some extra help, and especially some one-on-one attention, that they would get to know somebody who's really interested in hoping that they would be doing well in school.
Speaking of children, what was your first childhood job, Teresa?
Oldest of 9 children.
That's a big job.
Yeah, I started early in life.
Golly, oldest of 9.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Your folks made a pretty big commitment there.
I did. I didn't really have a job until after I was in college.
You said there at Francis Marion the activity with the retardation, what was that again?
It was called the Mental Retardation Board. And they had clients who lived out in houses in town, and we would do athletic and games and things for them. And that was a CETA position. They were a government position back then that helped people try to find a place where they'd like to work.
And your first job as an adult, was that it right there?
That was.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Lastly, Teresa, is there any project in particular over the last year that you all have undertaken and completed that you're most proud of?
I really like doing the Golden Wedding Anniversary Luncheon. It's for people who've been married 50 years or longer.
Oh, God.
And we do a luncheon, and one of the senior groups and I make the favors for the party. And when you've got 50, if you have 100 people or more, making favors is quite a project. And to come up with an idea that's creative, and I don't like junk, so whatever, you can spend as much money making a junk project as you can make something that's really nice. So that's always a challenge, to come up with something that's inexpensive but nice.
Yes, very definitely. Teresa Simonds, Program Coordinator for the City of Florence Parks and Recreation Department, making a commitment to youth and seniors here in our community. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Teresa.
Thank you. Glad I could be here.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. Today we're at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. We're visiting with a recently retired professor of animal science at Clemson University, John Albrecht. John, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here.
John, are you a Petey area native?
No, I was born in Pennsylvania and worked my way south. I stayed in North Carolina for a while and then came to South Carolina.
What brought you to Florence?
Work. I think that's what moves a lot of people around the country.
It does.
The job I wanted was here. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to live in the South. And when I got the chance, I came.
And Pennsylvania is definitely not the South.
No, it's not.
Probably some folks up there would like to claim it is. How about your time in North Carolina? Were you in school in North Carolina?
I was in graduate school in North Carolina. Got my master's and PhD at NC State and managed a university farm up there while I was a student.
Is that right?
Did a little bit of everything. Got some surgical experience. I worked over at the University of North Carolina for a while. So a little bit of everything.
The farm, or the unit up there at NC State, is pretty close to the state fairgrounds, the Raleigh State Fairgrounds. Is that correct? Or
yes, the state fairgrounds is just out of Raleigh, and the university's farms are also clustered around the edge of closest to it is the veterinary school right there at NC State.
That's it. That's it. That's what I was thinking about. And I understand you, as I said earlier, you recently retired as professor of animal science with Clemson. How long had you taught?
31 years.
Is that right?
I've been the extension livestock specialist in South Carolina for most of that 31 years. Deal primarily with large farm animals, cattle, horses, hogs, and for most of the years I specialized in the swine industry, so I was the state swine specialist.
You were the state swine specialist.
That's correct. So all the bad rumors you hear about the hog industry wanting to take over the South, I guess I'm to blame for that.
You were the center of that blame. Son
Still
of a gun. I'm sure you're still getting that. You can't retire from that. They're always wanting to call John Albrecht when the fingers are being pointed. What prompted you to get active with swine?
Since I was old enough to remember, I liked animals. I was involved in farm activities when I was growing up. The organization I grew up in raised racehorses, standardbred horses, beef cattle, and sheep. And when I went to graduate school, the best assistantship and the person that I thought I wanted to work under was in swine nutrition. So I guess you could say that I went into swine because the pay was best at that spot.
And both the pay was best and the person...
I say the pay was the assistantship that was available. And the other thing is that this, I don't mean to sound opposed to anybody else, but swine people are people that are in it to make money. It's not hobby farming. There aren't many people that raise pigs just for fun of it, compared to people that are hobby horse people or hobby beef cattle people. And I was always interested in the money-making production side of farming, so swine industry was a natural fit for me.
What would be some other money-making? I mean, people would be in it for the money as opposed to a passion.
Well, I think you'll find that most farmers will tell you they're in it for the money, even if they're not making much money, but they want to be in it for money. We have other ventures in the area. We have a number of goat producers. There's just a couple sheep producers in the state. The dairy industry is in decline somewhat in South Carolina. The largest number of commercial farmers in the state now are in beef cattle.
Is that right?
Across the state, that's the #1 industry.
Could you tell the viewers something about swine, something fascinating about swine that we may not know?
Well, they're the smartest of all of the domestic animals, except perhaps the dog. And it depends on who you're talking about as whether the dog. I think the dog is probably smarter, but the pig is very easily trained. Its body is the closest to a human of all the farm animals. Surgeons used to grow up or in school learning surgical research techniques using hogs. The pig heart is used for transplants. John Wayne had a pig valve in his heart for years.
I didn't know that.
They use about 350,000 pig hearts a year in biomedical transplant work. That's a lot of hearts.
That's amazing, yeah.
Of course, the last few years, they apparently have a lot of new technologies that they don't need to use the animal parts. But also nutritionally, the pig is closest to a human. If people can eat it, a pig will eat it. It's just that a pig is a little less discerning than people are, but nutritionally they are. The system is the same.
That's amazing. I guess, you think about a swine expert or you think about swine involvement. I always think about Charlotte's Web and Charlotte's involvement, it seems like, with...
Yeah, and what we do with most animals at the end of their career doesn't make people happy, but I always happen to like pork chops, so that's a good part of the industry too. But the other thing that the pig has done very much over the years is the pig skin is used for burn patient treatment. And that has always been a large medical use for the pig. And now they're doing work to make donor acceptable hemoglobin using genetically modified pigs. And that opens up a whole new clash of who likes and who doesn't like certain things.
Boy, John, well, I tell you, we ought to get you on another time to talk about this alone. But we're out here at the fairgrounds and wanted to talk about your involvement with the fair. What prompted you to get active with the fair, and how long have you been involved? When you work in livestock, fair activity has always been traditionally has been part of Extension's
part of the community, youth projects, ways to show the general public farming activities. Florence County no longer has much of a purebred industry. There aren't people that want to show their Duroc sow. Florence Fair used to take about 3 days to judge the pig show if they worked from early morning to late in the evening.
Wow.
We don't have that kind of industry anymore. We don't have people that can afford to take a day and take their best steer or their best cow to the fair. So as a replacement, we've tried to have animals at the fair that we can show people good examples of modern animals. It's everything from a llama to Brahma to some of the pigs that we have, a sow and a litter and so forth. Then we have 2 youth projects, and they're here as the Eastern Carolina Fair is run by the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Commission, and that commission is always, its goal has been to increase awareness of agriculture and get people involved in agriculture. So they sponsor these projects. They actually put up the funding so that in July the Extension Service can help youth around the area to get either a pig or a goat as a little baby. They take care of it for the summer and bring it back and show it as a market size animal at the fair. This year we have 87 children involved in the youth projects here at the Florence Fair.
John Albrecht, the commitment now is to help youth get involved with the fair, not only this year but for years to come. Youth projects are underway. Come back next year, hopefully when the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair, we'll have some more exciting youth projects, much of which John helped put together. John, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. Today we're at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. We're visiting with the Executive Director for the Florence City County Agricultural Commission, which sponsors the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair, Bob Jones. Bob, thanks so much for being with us again this morning. Earlier in the week, you got on, for viewers who may have missed you on Monday, got on to talk to us a little bit about the history of the fair and to talk about how long you've been involved. I think your time at the fair almost spans 5 decades.
48 years.
48 years, an amazing commitment. And how many years as the general manager of the fair?
I took over when I was 34, and my father died with a massive heart attack in 75. So it's been 27 years as the manager.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, obviously we had MP Nolan in to talk about the commission as chairman of the Agricultural Commission. Mr. Liebenrud was in to talk about his role over the last couple of years as treasurer in the commission a little bit. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about the commission, of which you're the executive director? A lot of folks wouldn't know a lot about the commission, I suppose, and viewers on the Grand Strand and up in southeastern North Carolina who may not have an agricultural commission.
Our commission was set up by an act of the legislature that was signed into law by Governor Strom Thurmond in 1950. And it has a 6-man commission, one by the county, one by the chamber, one by city council, those 3, and then we have 2 that are on by their job, which is with the Department of Education in the agriculture with Clemson, or their representative. And we have 1 at-large member. And the 6 men were set up to promote agriculture. And one of the things that they did to promote agriculture was start the fair. And the fair has changed over the years from not quite as much agriculture and all that we used to have. But if we have anybody that is interested in displaying or showing anything with agriculture, we'll work with them to get them into the fair, even as far as to donate booth space to them if they have something relating to agriculture. Not some fellow that says, I'm a farmer, I want to sell my beans at the fair, but if you have something that you're showing that is developing for the farm community, we'd love to have you on and have you at the fairground where people can see what you're doing.
Like even alternative crops.
There's a lot of crops now that when we were growing up, you never heard of them or knew anything about them. You get into hydroponics with your water for your garden where you use all your tubing and grow your roots and all in treated water. And various other aspects, too, that have changed so much in the last few years. Your livestock and all, there's much more brooder pens, much more larger operations because you have so many more people to feed with so many less people to feed them.
Bob, there's a reason that the fair is named the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. A lot of folks within Florence County probably think of it as their county fair, and it's located in Florence County.
Right.
You serve a heck of a lot of counties. How many counties are involved in the fair?
We actually serve 13 counties in the PD area. That's why it's called the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. Originally it was the PD Fair, but we've even expanded beyond the PD area, so now we're the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. We go all the way down to Oree and Georgetown, and all the way up into Chesterfield, Fly up in those areas up there. All those people from up there have come to the fair.
How many people do you think will have attended this year's fair?
Well, with good weather and all of the kids that come in, the seniors and all of the free ones that we have, as well as the paid, we'll have approximately close to 60,000 people during the week.
Mm-hmm. Part of the thrill of this week, being here and focusing on the fair, is that much of the preparation has already begun for next year's fair. What are some of the preparations that are beginning right now to prepare for something 51 weeks away?
Well, a lot of my exhibitors, before they leave, actually put up a deposit for next year's fair to make sure they have their same space, because some of them are on the road and their mail is late catching up with them. And then we have, like with some of the news media, and like with your station, we're going to have some packages as far as advertising and all for next year that you can work up a package. We'll have a deal with the TV station for space out here and a package with your advertising and everything. We have a lot of the poultry people and all like that. Same ones come every year. Their children that are taking over, and they've taken over from their fathers. We have a lot of the same families that bring the livestock on to the fair every year.
Programs for school children that have been that occurred at this year's fair, as well as ones you'll be planning for years in the future.
Well, one thing we have every year is on Tuesday morning between 10 and 12, all of the underprivileged and handicapped children that come to the fair, the carnival ride them at no cost. And the other kindergartens and daycares come on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But on all 4 of those days, Puppet Love, which Johnny Taylor was on your show, they put on entertainment for them in the mornings. Then we have a magic show, Can Do and Company. Then we have Hambone Express, the pig races, and then more puppet shows for them. And the food vendors out there give them a special price if the kids are going to eat at the fair. They'll let us know. We have certain vendors that if you tell them how many you're bringing, they'll give you a package deal for so much food and all. And they're prepared ahead of time. When you get here and you come up with 75 children and you say we need 50 hot dogs and 25 of this and 10 of that, they've already got it prepared for you in boxes with your name on it. So you just take your boxes and go and set up on the picnic tables. And some children bring a bag lunch, and if they want to get drinks or something, we have vendors that will accommodate them. And we try, and the vendors are real good about working with us with the children. And on Thursday is our Senior Citizens Day. And they come in at 10 o'clock and register, and at 12 o'clock we feed them a bag lunch. We also have a puppet show for them, a magic show for them, a pig race for them. And then they eat their lunch and they spend the whole day out here. Some of them be sitting around here in a shady spot somewhere, and they say, "You ready to go?" "No, it's my day at the fair." And they stay with us till we close it up.
This is hypnotic hearing you talk about it. You're so excited about it. There's so many things going on. I should have a question next, but just listening to you talk is so exciting.
Well, we found, I'm a child at heart. My wife says I'm still in my second childhood. I told her I never got out of my first. And the fair, all of my staff, we can't pay people to do the job that they are worthy of. We do pay some of them a small amount, but the work that they do to promote the fair and the interest they take in it, like Frankie Jones with the exhibits you see here, and the other exhibits in the crafts and the canning. We have a wine section of our exhibits that's growing every year. We started out with 2 or 3 bottles, and now we're up to about 12 or 15. So people see it, and they go back home, and they say, "Well, John, you make wine. Why don't you enter it in the fair?" And we have some of the same things with people with... Now, on Saturday, we're going to have the Red Band and the Spam Oven Rust Turkey Contest, which, is coming up tomorrow. And it's fine. Come out and enter it. You have some fantastic prizes those people give away every year. And you can pick up our catalogs. Y'all going to have some at your station next year, and we'll have some at the library and other places. We keep adding places every year that say, "Well, I didn't realize you had a catalog, and if you got one, yeah, we'd love to have it," because some people come in here, and we are working with y'all at the fair, and we say, "Well, here's what all you can enter and what all you can do at the fair."
That's amazing. Bob Jones, a man who's committed almost 5 decades of his life to activity with the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. It's been under many names: the PD Fair, the Florence County Fair, it has expanded well beyond its original thought, and the intention has grown dramatically. Bob Jones, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
I've enjoyed it.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People. We want to send a big thanks out to Bob Jones, the Executive Director of the Florence City County Agricultural Commission, for allowing us to be out here at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair all week, bringing Carolina People to you.